Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force. Today, we're going to be continuing the trend that I've been doing about some retrospective looks at Marvel Strike Force. Today, I want to go back through some of the most major blog screw-ups and news that we've had in 2024. There is a lot. However, I am going to be going through the ones that I've curated a list, which is a fairly lengthy list of issues that we've had and major news that I want to bring up in this game, just so that, like, you know, if you're a veteran player like myself, you can kind of remind yourself of some of these screw-ups, and also if you're a newer player, gives you a little bit of an idea of what you're in store for 2025, although I do hope that things improve on that front, but that remains to be seen. So if you're ready to go, everybody, let's boil this down. All right, and we are starting off with February. So believe it or not, I did not find anything between the start of January and like the middle of February that was of major note. However, I do want to start here at February 13th, which is the Roses Are Red currency issue. Now, some of you might not remember this one. This was an event store bug where I believe that you started the event store with millions of hard candy, as it was said here, and you could essentially spend it all, but it required you to like core the store, the event store, in order to spend it all. Some people did do that, including myself, but if you did not take advantage of that, people were given, sent out into their inbox a lot of hard candy to be able to spend at a later time. It was a big issue. It was actually a very big, colossal issue in the middle of February. And you can probably find videos on my channel if you really cared about it. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff here. There was a lot of good rewards, although this was pre-Gear 19. Honestly, I forget exactly what was in there. It was probably like some G18 minis at the time, maybe some character shards, things like that. But it was still a lot because whatever the currency was used before, they never ended up wiping it. So let's close that one down. Move on to the next one. Update. Roses Are Red candy currency issue. So there is like an update to the problem, apparently, due to the related to the compensation that was sent out, and basically how much players would end up getting. So it depended on how much hard candy that you ended up spending. If you spent none, you would get the maximum 300,000 hard candy, and it would kind of scale from there. It was interesting. And they also did, because of some, I guess it crashed Cosmic Crucible. There were some Cosmic Crucible issues at the same time, and they gave up a bunch of free rewards for that. I feel like we don't get as much free rewards as compensation as we used to, like prior to the middle of this year. Closing that one down. We then had the 6th anniversary in March. Now, this is not a particular issue, so to speak, yet. One thing that I did want to point out, though, is that in this YouTube video, the strike time that they ended up doing, there's Jose, I believe. Like, I think he's the guy who showed up Battle World. In this, you can see Apocalypse, and in the background, you can see Apocalypse with the Moments table, or the box there. So that's gone, as far as I'm aware. We haven't heard anything related to Moments in a long time. I think that's been trashed at this point. Although what's weird is that there is a folder for Moments in the data mine, so I'm not really sure if this is going to come back or not. That remains to be seen as well. I'm not sure if that's on the docket for the next progression system, though. Let's close that one down. Sword Satellite leaderboard issues, March 2024. This is of no surprise. Every time Sword Satellite comes back, there is an issue. Now, this particular one was related to the Black Knight release because of tiebreaker issues. That basically there were so many people with the same score because they were all getting the same amount of orb fragments, I believe, related to an event milestone. So this is a big problem in some events where they have things like this, where it's a leaderboard, but there's also no way to break the ties. Normally that means that there's no energy inputs to really, because energy is the easiest way to break ties most of the time. And so this one was a big issue related to Red Letter Day. That was the Black Knight release event. So there we go on that one there. And then we had a Starbrand issue. I don't remember what this one was. I don't know if this was actually that important. I don't think that was that important. Let's move on. Gear Tier 19. Again, not all of these are issues necessarily. Some of these are news. Gear Tier 19 available in March, early March 7th, 2024. I believe it was only available in the supply store for quite a while, in fact. Like, that's how people, Krakens, basically had to farm their gear. I did say Friday, March the 8th, to talk about more gear. I believe it was Spotlight Raid. I don't know if I necessarily have that in here. Then we have the release of Cabal, I think. Why was I scroll so far down here? I'm not even sure. What was this one here? Nope, it was actually related to Mephisto. So we learned more about Mephisto, things like that, and him coming to the game on that date. Then we had, you might remember this. This was the bang for your buck web milestone issue. So this one is pretty interesting. I forget what, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember here now. I think it was an issue with an offer, maybe, that presented a ton of gear tier 18 orbs. I'm trying to skim this a little bit. I do kind of remember this, that they ended up having lots of issues with this. There were and then they tried to make it better, as they always do, but there was like 5 blogs on this same issue. Update on the bang for your buck web milestone issue compensation. I swear there was like 5 of these. There's going to be a free claim for stuff. And then close that one down. There's like an issue with the free claim for the bang for your buck. Like, it's just, it kept going on and on and on and on. There was an issue with our targeting for the free claim on the web that allowed it to be delivered to the players we were trying to exclude. Like, GG Skrull, please. Not really all that surprising. I think it was really funny. Then we close it down. Resolution to the bang for your buck web. There was more. Based on your feedback, it's very clear the players are still frustrated with the compensation offers for the bang for your buck milestone issue. I think that's related to something like Strike Pass stuff or Ultra Cores or something. If you bought it, you would get refunded Ultra Core. I honestly forget, but it was a colossal issue. I remember it being a huge issue. I just don't. Yeah, we're gonna send players who buy the Make Good offers Ultra Cores for each offer, dollar for dollar. So if a player already bought or buys the $5 offer, they'll be sent $5 worth of Ultra Cores in their inbox. Oh boy. And I think there was one final one. Ultra Core compensation inbox for the bang for your buck Make Good offers. 5 blogs on one particular issue. It was just mind-boggling, honestly. This was probably one issue that had the most amount of blogs. Good God. You guys might remember it, I'm sure. At the end of March, we had introducing the Age of X, right? So this is when they announced Xavier, but this was like this was before like most people even had Mephisto, right? This was like 1 month or less into Mephisto when they announced this. A lot of people were surprised. They were felt that the community was receiving too much info at this time. Like, why do we want to know about this while we're still nobody basically has Mephisto unlocked? And so they went in to talk about how he would be Dark Dimension 8, right? That there would be no minimum requirements to participate. Oh, wait, no, this is something else, actually. This is the Age of Accident. I think they did end up saying something like Spider Society might be required for this at the time, because I vaguely remember Spider Society was the first Age of X team, and I remember back when I was an Envoy that they said something about, like, Age of X characters being required for Xavier. Again, that could be a subject to change moment because a lot of things changed afterwards, including, you know, Odin being Dark Dimension 8. Moving on, stability issues and the anniversary gift. Some of you might remember that they sent a lot of orbs for free and nobody wanted to open them. And then they eventually, they had to shut off this open all orbs option that they had. Or sorry, they gave out the orbs. We had the open all orbs button. And then they had to close it down. They had to shut it down because there was just too many people opening too many orbs at the same time, and they made this giant screw up. Then it took forever for it to come back. And we had update to stability. I think this is more to do with the opening the orbs button and the Cosmic Crucible leaderboard. They made another make good offer on that one. Dark Dimension 7 was cleared on April the 2nd by Beta Ray Bill. Congratulations again for that one. That was some time ago. But anyways, let's moving on. And then we had the announcement. Surprisingly, there wasn't a lot of issues in April. And then we moved on to May. This was the announcement of Old Man Logan coming to the game. And I think this was the kind of the beginning of what a lot of people describe as the decline in Marvel's Strike Force. A lot of the game's issues, especially related to the Old Man Logan leaderboard event, or the trial event, you know, was gated with star ranks, which was the first time, because the other ones were not. It was more like you could punch up, you could try to punch up, right? And you could do the highest difficulty without the star levels, but this one was the first time where it was actually mandated that way. So that one was a sticking point for a lot of people. Open all orbs return. This was in May 3rd in a kind of a watered down version about this. But what's funny is I'm pretty sure, and I think it's in here too, that something else ended up breaking it later on that they had to remove it. Dark Dimension 7 Celebration for Beta Ray Bill, some character shards and red stars. I remember that we were not able to choose Black Knight for this, and that was a bit contentious for the player base because we wanted Black Knight, and instead we got like Void Knight or Red Goblin. But there we go. Moving on, more updates to the raid story and open all ore buttons. So the open all ore buttons was rolled out to a small portion of the community on Monday. This was on May the 9th. We observed some issues. Unfortunately, we had to disable the feature again after observing issues. And this was down for some time. So it's like they took it down, they brought it back, and then they had to take it down again. They had the Cosmic Crucible tournament. This was in the middle of May. Now, this is when I was on holidays when I was at the Eurovision Song Contest 2024. So I was originally supposed to be in this tournament. However, I was on holidays and was not able to really make this. It was my bad at the time. But this was because I was actually originally on one of these the portraits here, the backgrounds, I guess, for it. And this was the first version of it. And I forgot who replaced me. I think it might have been Al who replaced me when I was actually running this, I think. Because I think I was supposed to play Updog. Anyways, this was the very first Cosmic Crucible tournament. And there was a few more after that, I think, before they ended up closing that down. Temporal Dimension. You guys might have remembered this one. This was the first one. Now, this was the Cabal one, I'm pretty sure. And this was the one related to those nodes being really, really difficult. And then they ended up doing a fix. I think I have that here. The Temporal Dimension Issues Resolution, which is when, you guys might remember, when they had to add Super Skrull to the node in order to complete it. It was absolute chaos. Then they ended up giving 2,500 temporal health packs, which we carried on for a long time until they eventually had to zero it out or like move to a new health pack, basically, because we had too many of them. So that was their make do for that one. Upgrade tokens came to the game, and you might have seen this with Old Man Logan through the trials and stuff like that. They use this from time to time, but I would say it's more of a new player thing because there's a lot of these new player milestones, like the strike milestones that like give you free tokens for stuff. Veteran players don't really see it that much, or even like older players don't really see tokens that much outside of the trials like we did for Shadow King. And then we had, what was this? Oh, the Mephisto updates, because I heard that the whales and the Krakens complained a little bit about Mephisto not being good enough, I think. And also, I don't know if this is the same time where they added the exhaust mechanic in. I think they did at the same time, so that you couldn't repeatedly or that he couldn't do that after a certain amount, because he was getting like 15 defense wins basically because you could exhaust back to back to back. And I think that if you had received 2 exhaust, or the Mephisto received 2 exhaust, that he could not use his book anymore. So they made that change to Mephisto. And then, oh no, this was another one, even after that one. So they did the bus first, and then he was too powerful, and then they added the exhaust mechanic after that, where if he had 2 or more exhaust, he could not get the speed bonus or empowered mode for him. You might have remembered this one in June when Alpha Flight came out. This was Union Jack and Bucky Barnes going in infinite turn loops, basically against Northstar, because Northstar would remove the charges off of Union Jack and Bucky, and then they would just take infinite turns. There was like some sort of Kestrel Nick Fury combo where you could constantly get assists, and you could kill them within the 5 minutes, basically. And so I have a couple of videos on that one, and that was an unintended effect because they didn't understand the how their kits would conflict with other characters. Then we had the introduction of the Illuminati, and this happened towards the end of June. And I think this was quite contentious, actually, for a lot of players, because this was the release where they started bringing those Phase 1 orbs now, or at the time, it was the Black Panther Shuri and Hank Pym orb. And then Captain Britain, obviously, was very contentious with the community in terms of, the unlock method. They was very pay to win. You'd pay basically $300 US or more in order to get them unlocked. The Illuminati Showcase, which kind of detailed how you would get shards for Captain Britain and how you would unlock them, basically paywalled, but they went through some really long FAQs about how you would do that. Then we had the Apocalypse Saga improvements. This was in July. Now, my biggest issue with this is that they sat on this information for quite a long time. This was something that Envoys, including myself, actually, at the time, I think I was still an Envoy at this point, that I knew about this and I couldn't say anything, and it was really annoying because we knew about this for a good couple of months, that they were going to make some changes. And, we all wanted to tell the community that things were coming, but they told us that we couldn't. And this was really frustrating, honestly. Sword Satellite issues. Hey, I'm pretty sure we had one of those back in March. Yeah, it seems every time the Sword Satellite comes around, there is an issue. This one particularly, it launched and did not have the final 10 floors that they were supposed to add on. They eventually had to relaunch Sword Satellite, I'm pretty sure, and it really screwed up the leaderboard as well because they launched it too early. Hey, just like the Sword Satellite that we're running right now. Except for on this one, they did decide to do something, the one we have now. It says the current version of Sword would end on Wednesday at 5 p.m. and then they'd end up launching another version of it or some shit like that. So absolutely crazy. Sword Satellite always has issues. Mapping the Wilderness. This was related to the Sasquatch event. I think was also related to Sword Satellite and the way that the leaderboard payouts work. Some of you might remember there was some issues with the pinging of the points. That if you made a point ping, so to speak, but you didn't actually change your point position, it would drop you to the bottom of the leaderboard. It's my understanding that this bug actually still exists to this day, but this only affects issues where there is no tie. There's not an easy tiebreaker, that kind of thing, where everyone's points just keeps flickering around. Sneak peek graphics update. You guys might remember the graphics update, right? I almost don't remember what it was like without the graphics. Like, I don't remember what it looked like, but well, I mean, Annihilators is new. I don't quite remember some of these characters like pre-graphics anymore because we've been sitting on this for probably about 5 months now at this point. So that was it was kind of controversial at the time. Strike Store, that's more Whale's Food online. Captain Britain Awakened abilities. Not sure why I pulled that one up. Temporal Dimension 2 requirement updates. Remember when they asked people to have, I'm pretty sure, it says the Illuminati nodes will now require only 3 characters. Now, originally it was intended to be 5, and there was some huge community pushback on this, and eventually they faltered, or they gave in, and made it so that you only needed 3 characters to enter, which would have been Iron Man, Black Bolt, and Mr. Fantastic. So you didn't need any of the new characters to do that. So something they kind of learned when it came back again for Annihilators. Temporal Dimension inbox issue. I don't remember what this one is. Why did I pull this one up? More Temporal Dimension issues as July 19th. Illuminati updates. Community feedback about Black Panther Shuri. Basically, they went and they updated all of the stuff for the Illuminati team. They did a bunch of updates for them. I think they even actually did more for Hank Pym later on as well. I think there's another blog. And then later on in July, we had the announcement of the Annihilators who were going to be representing the new stat era shift. And this was by, like the end of month 7, right? July's month 7. So we were in the 2/3 of the game, 2/3 of the year at this point in time. Came out to the game. And this represented a pretty huge shift in Marvel Strike Force. Then we had some Hank Pym and Captain Britain updates that made them more available. Yeah, the speed up on the passive would be in all game modes for Hank Pym. So they basically made this team better everywhere because a lot of people were complaining that if I'm going to spend this much money on the Illuminati, that they should be good in other places. The release of Ares came to the game, who again, alongside the Annihilators, kind of represented that new 2.0 stat era that we're in now. Purple ISO was announced at the end of July as well, which they would say, I think it said here that it was supposed to be for Odin. I think it does. They announced that it would be related to Dark Dimension 8 and Odin. So this was the end of July and the first announcement that Odin was replacing Xavier in Dark Dimension 8. But don't worry, because Professor X is still on the way. And we know how that is now. We'll get to that towards the end. Back and better than ever. Open All Orbs is back August the 1st, right? So they changed the way that it works. Instead of like opening everything at once, there was some scaling, and it took a little bit more time than like, I guess what it originally did from what I remember. And there was like a slow rollout for that. I forget how long that took though. The road to the Annihilators, phase 1 orbs, basically. The Annihilator orbs, right? All this stuff, super contentious, still is to this day, in my opinion. There is actually a blog post that they actually wrote about this. Purple ISO 8 on raid enemies. Do you remember when they implemented Purple ISO on Incursion 2 raid enemies, and it took people to actually like cross-reference videos and check online to make sure that we weren't just making things up? That happened, and then they ended up compensating us for that as well. And then we had, because they needed to buff the Strike Store because it sucked. And then we had the Streak Surge, remember? So that came back to the game, which is fine. It's not really a big issue, so to speak. And they brought that, and they're still doing that now, actually, because of those special milestones that they're running. The Odin blog. This was at the end of August. They went in over and detailed the kit for Odin after I had leaked it already, but there you go. That was more official. Actually, you know what? I probably starting after I left the Envoy, after my issues with the Envoy program, that's also when things kicked up, I suppose, on the Boilon leak front, and still to this day as well. And, letting the player base know things ahead of time. So let's hope that continues into 2025. We'll see how that goes. Shattered Dimension and Annihilator updates. Again, right? This is the same as like the previous issues with the Illuminati, but they had to clarify the Annihilators, and this is where it turned into a minimum of 3 Annihilators and or Cosmic. So actually, it was more like in these other sections, but nonetheless, you know, they went back and forth because originally it was supposed to be, I think, 5 Annihilator characters, and then we made the exact same complaints, and they went back on that one. So it seems to be cyclical here. Shattered Dimension issues. Run it for oh, you remember this back in August, at the end of August, where you could essentially run this an infinite amount of times, and they decided to leave it running. That was fine. Because of this, I ended up getting a crap ton of gold. It's a shame. It's actually still running right now with Frozen Dimension. However, it's such a pain in the ass to run that I don't give a shit about that anymore, really. The Future of Character Release Events blog. Remember this one? This is basically where they detailed all the stuff about, you know, the having a character within a new team's character free-to-play event within a month, and then the Phase 1 orbs and all that stuff, detailing basically the first 3 months of a character's release. They ended up doing that. I still think it's contentious to this day. I don't really like it. Dark Dimension 8 went live in September. They had that 1 month-long milestone where if you got certain progress on Odin, that you would get some red stars for him if you did it within a month. If you cleared it within a month, you would get a 7 red Odin for those who managed to clear that. And I think that there was maybe like 2,000 players, maybe 2,500 players who ended up getting a 7 red. It's basically like less than the 1%, less than the top 1% who got a 7 red Odin at the end of the day. Odin and Mighty Thor updates because Odin just could keep clearing exhaust. So they, just like Mephisto, they had to make sure that he couldn't do that after he got 2 or more exhausts. Otherwise, he'd be too overpowered. Battle World. Remember Battle World? That was a thing. That came out in October. They started announcing it anyways. I think we ended up getting it in November. I forget now. Because we only had like, I want to say 4 or 5 weeks of Battle World. I don't remember how long we actually had it. They announced the Shadow King on October the 11th, after I had already leaked it in a previous video, but that's okay. They made it public finally as well. An update to re-enabling 60 FPS. Now, I want to say that I still don't have 60 FPS on my iPhone. My brand new iPhone that I picked up a couple of months ago, I do not have 60 FPS. It is available on my Android emulator for some reason, but it is not on my brand new iPhone. That pisses me off. Please, Scopely, bring back 60 FPS to Apple. Please. Diamonds. The Skrull Diamond Heist. Now, you guys probably remember all of this stuff because we're pretty close now, right? The Diamond Heist for Skrull. A lot of people were pissed off that they were given a free 1 diamond Skrull, especially for all the people who had already purchased it very recently. That, of course, led to the login calendar that we're still getting right now, actually, the Dark Promotion login calendar. It's almost done. We still have some days left, but, you know, that's what led to that issue there. Darkness Ascends, we had some, I think this described the actual kit, the player kit to Null, right? You guys remember that too, the Null that we were supposed to get, the one that I have like 37 shards for. We'll see what happens in the new year, because apparently that's supposed to come back. I don't know how many shards per month that we're going to be getting on him, because it's only happening once per month. We'll talk about that too. Astral Team updates. They were so bad outside of, and they still kind of are, but they did make some updates to the characters more broadly, especially related to Battle World, and they also added some more additional parts to them as well. Oh, we're almost done. Okay, Battle World Leaderboard and Skrull Diamond Heist update. This was just basically telling us the stuff that we were going to get. This was related to the issues. Remember over the 1 billion damage on Null? You remember all that stuff? Yep, that happened, and what they were going to do about that and monitoring that. Shadow King Trial update. So this one was because too many people were clumped up on the leaderboard. They were not super clear about what they were going to do, but they basically suggest, oh no, is this the one where they did say that the payout would be limited enough time who successfully can max difficulty? They did not say what we would get, though, for clearing a max difficulty. And we did end up getting a max difficulty full packed run. We did end up getting a 7 yellow Shadow King, but they were not particularly clear about giving this out. Finally, we had, we're almost done, updates on Battle World, right? And it's going away. Or it is away. It's gone now, right? But it was going away. And we've reviewed community feedback and conducting our own evaluations, and we've decided to pause Battle World. So, yeah, that's pretty fresh in our minds right now. We also had the launch of Frozen Dimension and Temporal Cataclysm, right? This happened like last week or two. And then we had the early 2025 preview, and in here we had the return of Battle World, and where they talk about it coming back for like 1 month events, monthly events. We're going to have to see, right? Because I'm pretty sure in here they do talk about, I think it was in February. I think was it in February that they spoke about, or maybe it was in a different blog. No, I think it was this blog where they said it would be coming back in February. Maybe they didn't specify. I swear they specified that, though. Am I missing it? Here's what you can expect in 2025. No, I swear they specified in February. Maybe it was a different blog, though. And then, of course, they had the Age of X and Xavier. More announcements to Xavier that this would be, I believe, in the spring of 2025. So that could be anywhere from March to May, April, May. When does spring actually start officially? It's March, isn't it? March, April, May. So it could be anywhere time in there, right? So, or to June, upwards to June, whatever. It doesn't matter. Xavier is coming around the bend too. So that's everything Marvel Strike Force. There was a lot of issues in this game. That was a whole year's worth of issues. So yes, it took some time to go over them. Some of them were worse than others, but honestly, that was not even, that was the only ones that I felt were worth even bringing up. There were others. There were minor ones here and there. I gotta say that it's rare for us to go an entire week without something hitting the fan. Whether it's officially in the blogs or whether it's on other community areas like Reddit, like Discord, Facebook, or anything like that, there is lots of stuff that happens in this game, and there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of bugs still to this day. There's a lot of character bugs. I think I highlighted that in one of my previous videos as well. It's just, oh yeah, while I'm here, I mean, let's just bring up this one. So Storm apparently has a permakill. Her ult is a permakill. This is not said anywhere on the text. What it's a pretty simple text. Yes, if you kill somebody with Storm and they have revive once, they're not coming back. Again, another instance of a bug or a textual issue that they don't fix. And there's countless of them. They're all on my Discord server. These are the kind of things that I would like to see changed in 2025. I would like them to use their due diligence to maybe do a little bit better in 2025. That's just me. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. What do you want for 2025 in Marvel Strike Force? I know I did something very similar. I asked a very similar question, but I just wanted to highlight a lot of the issues that we've had this year. Maybe it's a bit more than you thought there would be, but either way, that's Marvel Strike Force. And that's the end of this video, everyone. Have a great new year if I don't get another video out. And until next year, yeah, I guess it is next year. I was to say next video, which might be next year. We'll see. Stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.